Well, drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver, get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino shot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Center Stage.
My goodness gracious, that was a long time ago when I could still take a beating. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gino's Spot, Tuesday night. That's every Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 6:30, we wake up and we make a little bit of supper and we stick on the YouTube with our buttons. Stick on the YouTube and watch a bit of Gino Spot. See who in PE is going to be on the show. And tonight we have Dean McCleland. Dean McCleland, most of you might know him as the casual observer for the Port Elizabeth of Yore. He does a website, an incredible website if you haven't been there already. And we'll stick that in the comments for you to have a look at too. On the history of PE and all sorts of different little pockets of history, and I love reading through those things because they're always so bloody interesting. If you're coming from PE here, you can actually relate to it so well because we ride past these places every single day of our lives, and we can see what the history is of these things. Thelma Jean Bardnorst, lovely to see you on. Thelma in Durban, nice to have you on. I see you've got a nice historical photo there, Thelma Jean. Go back to that one there, Gary. I see the photo there it must be an early days photo. Where was that taken, I wonder? Thelma Jean. It looks lovely. And I see Carol Jacobs on as well from East London, Arena Resorts. Is it Arena Resorts still, Carol? And I see you still riding your horses there. And Wendy Tompkins Thompson, our regulars are on board tonight. Hello, Mrs. Thompson. Lovely to have you on too. Mark Banks, does Spar sell air fryers? I'm sure they do, Mark Banks. Have you got into them yet? You're not very technologically, you don't like the technology that much, I know. Because when we had you, we had Mark Banks on a little while ago. If you want to go back and see Mark Banks's interview, it was really funny and interesting. It's always going off on some tangent with Mark Banks. Loved you. And Isel Kraus, nice photo, Isel. Hello to you, my lord. Where is that? In Cape Town. I don't know where that is. That's a beautiful view that you've got there, it looks like. And Griselle Hart, lovely to see Griselle as well. Of course, Griselle, I'm sure Dean knows Griselle because she used to run the museum, which is the number 7 Castle Hill, which was the home of the ancestors of Dean, the McClellands, and St. Mary's, of course, as well. Thelma Jean, at the Top Hat in Durban. Is that where it was? The Top Hat. It sounds like a lekker club, a good jaw. I bet you there were live bands playing there and everything. Oh, Janine Beer, there we go. There's Helen Ward and daughter of Janine. Fantastic. Nice to see you on as well. I gave Helen Ward a call because I know she was a McCleland, and the McCleland history goes back very far in this town. Of course, we'll discuss that with Dean when we get going. We've got a whole pile of stuff to do. First of all, to thank the sponsors. Thank you to Spar for supporting us so wonderfully over the last 2 years, and long may it last. Spar, of course, a pillar of the community here as well. Everybody pops into their Spar. Mark, how best to dry abalone load shedding? Have half ton. Mark, I don't know. He hasn't taken his medication again this morning. The air fryer, is that what you need to for the air fryer? You have alone. The pearly poachers are onto you, you damn money laundering maniac. The Marinda Ferreira, good evening to you as well. Fantastic to have all these people on tonight. It's going to be a fun night. Tonight is going to be a very interesting night tonight, indeed. And a good evening from historical Richmond Hill. We had a good walk the other day. I'll tell you what, a whole bunch of us walked around Central. Just checking to see if we can make any difference. Try and get a bit of momentum going for fixing up our city, because if that's one thing that Gino Spot is trying to do as well, is just to get a bit of hope and a bit of passion in sorting out our city. We can't rely on the politicians because they are full of crap, and so we need to rely on ourselves. We are the ones that have got to do it in the end. I see a whole bunch of people coming on. I'm gonna start with our normal song, I think. Obviously, thank you to Spar. Thank you to for the sponsorship. Amobia, our internet provider, fantastic. Thank you very much, Amobia. And of course, Fat Cats Catering. They bring food every now and again, if she's not too busy. If you're not too busy. And of course, we've got stuff to drink as well. We've got our Fitch and Leeds and a little bit of, I do have a little bit of punters. We've got a new punters the other day, Gary. Casey's been sorting us out again with the punters. Fantastic. I like that. It helps to get having a good time here in the studio. Janimia, thanks for the mention. Helen's a bit of a technology challenge. Yes, I gather that, as we get older, it's so difficult to put the YouTube on. So at least you guys are able to comment. I'm glad because you can ask Dean questions while we're online as well. If it's something that if we can answer it, of course, Dean will have a go at that as well. So he's a font of knowledge about history, with the history of the Eastern Cape and PE specifically. Andrew Marriott, how's it? Gina for my, yeah. Well, I don't know about that, bro. I don't want to get into politics. That sounds like a lekker cuck job to me, where everybody's moaning at you all the time. All right, let's get going. I'll sing your comments. Tell me where you're watching from, and tell me what you're drinking. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me where you're watching from, and we'll do a little song for you. How about that? Yes, a little bit of 80s. Sean Pauls, you like that? That's right. Hello there, Kathy Marsh. Well, hello, Kathy Marsh and Mark Banks. Is still offered in high schools as an Afrikaans subject, maybe that would be. Yes, I know. And Kathy Marsh says Fat Cats is delicious. Yes, I saw them at that Igazi show the other night. Richard Trojak, somewhere in the universe. Is that what you are doing? Elmarie Sampson's watching, looking forward to an interesting talk. Yeah, Alicia McCleland. Oh, she's your daughter, she's watching you. He's smiling like a Cheshire cat now. Fabulous, thank you, Janine De Beer. And Kathy Martian says hello, Sean Pauls. They're talking to each other now. Vino from Josie Isel. Alan Carter in the UK says Anna's Wendy Thompson. Watching from a couch, I think she's in South End this evening. Elmarie Sampson, some OBs. Ooh, nice and warm. And feet up too, that's nice and coochie. Debbie Bowman Strauss, coffee from PE. Love you though, you love me so. And that's Mark Barwood there in Westbourne Road. Going to be a good one, that's right. Sue Snodgrass. All the horses and stuff at the Snodgrass stables. Tainted love. On the balcony, having a B&C. And a brandy and a cooler. 'Cause we're not allowed to say the word if we get sponsored from Fitch and Leeds. Oh yeah, Kathy Marsh, Robertson. There we go, enjoying that. Good, I'm glad you are. Robert, what the hell have you got going on in your picture there? Is those chickens or goats or what are they? Lordy, looks like you got attacked by goats in your picture there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, tonight we've got a couple of things we need to do, and Dean Allen has been our history dude as well, talking about conservation as he's doing a book on the history of conservation in the Eastern Cape. But he's traveling abroad at the moment, and he's been sending us stuff. So we're just going to put it on because it's quite interesting. Let's see what Dean Allen has been up to with his little baby that has had 70 million views or something on YouTube. It's Dean Allen's little child that he put on, and it just went absolutely crazy. Let's have a look what Dean's up to.
Hello, it's Dean Allen, and as you know, I love frontier lands, and you can't get more of a frontier than where I am at the moment. That mighty river behind me is the River Danube, which I'm sure you've all heard of. I'm in Slovakia, and I'm on this side of the shore, and over the other side is actually Austria, so it separates these two great European countries. But if we look around here, you can see there's another river. That is the Morava River, and that actually separates Slovakia from the Czech Republic further up in its source. And just behind me, you can also see the people gathering at what is a monument to the people that actually tried to flee Slovakia during the communist regime when the Russians were in charge. Now, many people obviously tried to escape to the west, and that is a monument to those that lost their life. But one of the things that fascinates me about coming to Europe, of course, is the old history and the castles that are here. In fact, Slovakia has more castles than any other country in Europe compared to its size. And if we look at this one here, I'm in a place called Devin, and Devin is important because of its castle. And if we look high up on the hill here, you can see the most magnificent castle that's built. I mean, absolutely incredible. Built high up on the rock there. That castle dates back to the 1300s. In fact, it was the home to many of the Hungarian Empire that actually lived in this part of Slovakia. In fact, it was the Romans that were here first of all. They were here and they used this area because of its strategic importance. But would you believe it was Napoleon and his forces in the early 1800s that destroyed this magnificent castle because of its strategic importance? Now, I love that kind of history, as you can imagine. So when you think about empires and when you think about frontiers, Europe has probably more than South Africa. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and I'm going to see you soon and keep you updated with my travels.
Yo, I love that. So it's crazy to think that like 1300s. That's before Bartholomew Dias came around, you know, and so in the Cape it was just the Khoisan here, and it was Gqeberha then and there's Gqeberha now, isn't it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got something else for you. We have our weather guru that's coming because we've had some rains. So we need to find out what we need to do and if things have been alleviated and how they've been alleviated. Let's have a look and see what Garth Sampson has to say. Garth, I love that intro because you get like fully clothed, less clothes, less clothes, less clothes, then more clothes, more clothes. So you go like from clothed to unclothed.
I actually can't post half of them because I like to do it completely. I've got a couple of hundred
in the rain,
but,
in the rain.
And I was caught at what is that waterfall? Ristenvrede.
Yes.
Got down to my jogs because I thought nobody was there to do the photo. And
Did they bust you?
yeah,
Oh, perfect.
You
Garth,
can't explain that to somebody.
Tell me, Garth, there's been lots of rain. My tanks are full. I've got 25,000 liters ready to rock and roll now. And are we expecting more? Are we closer? Are we further away from day zero? What's the story?
Yes. We're further away from day zero, but interestingly enough, it's not the rain.
Oh, what is it?
Yes, I know everybody likes to criticize and hang the municipality. I'm not a spokesperson for the municipality or the metro, but what they actually did was the Impofo Dam was on null because it was past extraction. It was in dead storage. And what they did is they put another barge in there, and that has increased the amount of water we can extract. Then also what has happened, it's a new water year. So we can take a bit of water out of the Kouga Dam. So we are in a good position, but now we've got to play our part. We're not out of the neck of the woods yet. We've got to play our part. So we've been given this bit of a reprieve with the rains. We've only had between 30 and 40 mils over the entire weekend over the Langkloof. So that's not enough. We need that in one day. Yes. So it's extended
of Krakiel. Is Krakiel in that area?
That's an interesting one. Krakiel and Krakiel Rivier, it's like 5 kilometers apart. And I actually went there. Let's say if you can get through that farmer's gate and go there, it was one of the most beautiful places I've seen in the world. You go there to Krakiel Hoek. It is just right there by Peak Formosa. There's a beautiful stream. Oh, it is paradise. And that road that falls in Krakiel Hoek, the Krakiel Hoek where they measure it, is right against the mountain. So it's a spillover of the Tsitsikamma rain. You might get 100 mils there, but by the time you get to Krakiel, 5 kilometers away, you might get 5 mils. So, and a lot of that water actually drains into the aquifer. So you can't use that figure. You've got to look at Curator and Hubertina. Curator for the Churchill and Hubertina for the Kouga.
And what goes into the Mpofu then?
Basically the Churchill Dam has got an overflow to go into the Mpofu.
Okay. So
it's got a very small catchment. It's got a very small catchment, but the majority it's an overflow. It's to save the water that would have run to the sea. So it's a very clever idea that these guys. So we've got to take our hats off to the municipality and not to the weatherman this time.
Yeah. So they actually dredged. They took out mud and sludge and.
No. They put a barge on there. The barge is like, when a lot of people when their swimming pool runs empty and they can't use their filter. What they do is they put a pipe into the swimming pool to use the filter. So that's what the barge does. In other words, they cannot extract on conventional means. So they've used the barge to be able to take more water out of the Mpofu.
Yes. So now surely they're sucking up bicycles and old cars and stuff.
No, not yet. But remember, after this, there's new plans coming in September. But that's just basically putting that day zero away. We've got to play our part, and if we play our part, and we can win this war.
Yeah. And so I see there's some figures that Gary's got. You want to go through the figures quickly?
Yeah, we can go through them quickly. Yes. What we can see so far this year, the middle blue line is the average. And we can see most of the year, besides May, we were below average. Okay. And then August now, which is not finished, we superseded the average. But remember, the seasonal forecast works on a 3-month basis. Yes. So it's August, September, October, then September, October, November, then October, November, December. So basically what this is telling me now, we could have terrible rain in September and October and still be above average because it works on a 3-month cycle.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So we actually need to check.
Something that is plain in my mind now is if I look at the forecast, which you're going to look at the next slide, it's showing fantastic rainfall right the way through until January. The top left-hand one is September, October, November. Then the top right-hand one is October, November, December. And the next one goes through till January. So what this is telling me, and if I look at long-term predictions, November is traditionally the time that we get a good downpour. And this is telling me if we get a fantastic figure in November, that'll make these three forecasts absolutely spot on. So I'm putting my hopes on a November heavy event, but unfortunately, as Dean will bear me out late in the thing, I actually don't want to talk too long because I want to go sit down in front of the TV and listen to him.
Yes.
As he will bear out, he will go tell you about all the floods we've had in the bay, and
Yes,
we are long
68,
overdue.
81. Yo.
And 1908, 1867, and I can tell you, Dean will go recite the whole night, a whole lot more of them. So yes, we are long overdue for a flood. But my big question is, are we ready? We've just got to play our part now and get past till that heavy mini flood or flood comes. So yes, we just got to play our part and use your tanks and buy another one.
Yes. Another one. I mean, like 6 of them. Oh my word. Well, thank you, God. That's good news. I'm glad you're bringing good news.
That's why I got this.
Yes, your sponsors. What about your sponsors?
Yes. The colour is almost as bright as yours. Yeah, the sponsors Eco Tags, which is always sponsoring prizes for my page, which is great, and they're going to sponsor something for a worthy cause. And of course, Alfrans from Green Overall. Wonderful ideas he's got to turn grey water and save your account by 60%. Brilliant people to work with. So yes, if you want to save water, those are the people to contact.
Thank you, Garth Sampson, our weather guru. You've been fantastic, and we hope to see you maybe next week. We'll check whenever you want to pop on. You can pop on anytime.
Thanks, Gino, and thanks to Gary.
It's a pleasure. And we're in. Dean McCleland. Lovely to have you on the show.
Can you believe it?
I know.
MPE.
No, MPE.
I write about it, but I'm not here.
I know. Because I was so surprised, actually, when I first... let me just put this down here. So we're going to put this... here we go. I was so surprised when I first found out that you weren't even in PE, but you love PE so much, and you obviously you've got a network of people that send information and stuff to you as well.
Look, you build that up. It's really time. It's nothing else.
Yeah.
I started off with a guy in the Historical Society who agreed to assist me, and it was my arm twisting, because what happened was, he said, I wrote some articles on PE, and he said to me, why don't you do more? And I said, it's just a minor thing. I've got a blog, but the blog wasn't for this. And if you look at it, it says Casual Observer. Casual Observer, nothing to do with PE. It had to do with current affairs. If I had an issue with something, I would use it as the topic the next day.
Okay.
So eventually he says to me, no, Dean, you should rather have something worthwhile. And he twisted my arm for about a year. And eventually I said to him, listen, Alan, yes, I'll do it, but... you will be my gopher in PE. If I need a photocopier, I need this piece of information. I'm not going to. No, he's living PE again. I said, listen, my kids live up there, etc. My sports up there. Not a chance. So you can thank actually Alan Montgomery for Montgomery.
Wow.
Yes.
So he's your go-to guy here, but I'm sure there are a lot of people that eventually.
In fact, you know what? It's got a momentum of its own. I sort of thought, listen, I'd write 4 or 5 books on PE. That would be it. But you you just get these emails. You get people. Most of the people I've seen since I've been here are people I've never seen face to face. Like Garth. I mean, I got a hold of him because I found out he had information on weather, and he gave me the stats that he'd pulled out historically, etc. So that's how I get this information. You see. So it's just growing.
But no, you were in the motor manufacturing trade.
No, it wasn't. What happened was, I retired at 63, but there was no ways. I had to do something. The one thing I was doing was, I said, okay, let me write. Okay, that was the one thing. Then I said, but how about doing something else? Then I got this offer I couldn't refuse, because VW got hold of me and they said they have problems in certain supplies, etc. They'd like me to go and do an assessment of what the problem is, make a report.
Okay.
So what happened is, obviously, I said, I live in Joburg, and I said, but if I come down, you pay the hotel, you pay for the car. No, but remember, there are also suppliers in Gauteng, etc.
Okay.
So it's actually
All over the place.
it's over the place. But
Okay.
what I found was, in actual fact, most of them were in PE.
Yes, most of the problems.
So
In
what
Port
happened
Elizabeth.
was, I was here about a week, a month.
Okay.
But really, the problem was, in fact, initially I actually accepted because I said, well, maybe I can actually go and see people. But, you know, you start early in the morning, I used to finish at 6 at night. Yeah, so I didn't get that much done.
Yes,
so I actually
yes.
still needed, and of course everything's closed and the library's
Yes,
closed,
of
etc.
course.
So,
Yeah.
but it gave me an opportunity to meet at least some of the people that I'm
Yes.
dealing with.
Yeah.
And I said, now I must actually meet a whole lot more.
Yeah,
So this is it.
Yeah, I think so.
I've been going out and I've got one appointment after another.
I'm sure. It sounds like it because you know, when I first saw your site, it was just like, it was overwhelming because you've done so much.
Well, I've done over 450 articles on PE already.
Unbelievable.
And remember, each is a completely different aspect. So
Yes.
it's anything.
Yes.
And some of them I say people won't like it.
Yeah.
I write it and I suddenly get this praise and they say,
Yeah.
we never knew that. And I
Yes.
thought, no, I actually did it reluctantly.
Yeah.
I actually did it. And there the people,
Oh no, they love it.
yeah, they love it.
Because for us, I mean, it's certainly a thing of like we ride past every day, and there's always been one that I've actually wanted to know about as
Yes.
well, which is, I mean, well, there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
that I've loved to read, but there's one about the fault lines in Target Kloof here.
Yes.
Do you remember that one?
And that was one of my very first ones when
Really?
I first started. Yeah. The problem is, I can't actually tell you what it even said on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
I mean, you write so many.
It was something about, because I know
Yes.
you can almost see the fault
You
lines.
can see the
Yeah.
fault lines, and that's what I liked
Yeah.
about it. That's what attracted me to write it,
Yeah.
because it's visual.
Yes.
On Target Kloof, you can actually see where the fault line is.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's an earthquake zone that's
Yes.
just inactive. You know,
Yes.
a couple of thousand years, and we'll have a hell of an earthquake.
Yes.
But I mean, when I looked at that, because it's been blasted on the side now.
Yes.
And then there's the old road that
Yes.
goes around, and,
Yes.
and the new road that goes through.
Yes.
And then from those photos, you try and work out how did the old road fit
Yes,
around there.
yes.
You know.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of things around there, like they had a big windmill there, but
Yes.
that I haven't spent enough time to establish exactly
Exactly where it is. Yes.
You know, is it closer to Mill Park? Is it closer to the water?
Yeah.
The river? I don't know.
Yeah.
But obviously, my view is what I want to do is do the 4 or 5 books,
Yeah.
and then a lot of things. You don't have time when you're just writing because
Yes.
it's pressure. You want.
Yeah.
I allow myself 1 year to write the book.
Okay.
Okay, obviously I've written lots of it in the past on old blogs I've written, but
Okay.
what I want to do then is a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yes.
And I think then I will abuse my friends. Come and
Yes,
stay
yes.
with them.
Come and have a look, you know.
Come and have a look, yeah.
Because it's so interesting when you actually do read an article like that, and then you go and you try and find where these photos
Yes,
were, you know.
yes.
If you look down from Halleck Road right the way, you know, right the way up Warmer, you can basically, you can see these old photos and how Warmer looked as well.
Yes.
And I don't know if Janine, I think Helen Ward and Janine are on there, and they're saying they mentioned that one of their ancestors owned a farm in Warmer, which was, I'm thinking must be a Velbedacht.
Okay, that was actually, that's a completely, we're confusing issues here.
Yes.
What happened was,
Yeah.
and this is why I found actually the early years of PE so interesting, because it's things we actually know nothing of. We think PE started in 1820.
Yeah.
It did not start then. Yes,
Yeah.
there was hardly anything here.
Yes.
But what had happened
The
was
farmers, there were farmers
the
here,
Cape Boers had moved into
Yes.
PE already in 1770. In fact, the biggest farm in PE, in fact, the interesting thing was it's a guy called Ferreira, and he owned the area around where the Papankels River is. It was a huge farm, and he was part of the original Ferreiras in South Africa. In fact, you can trace every Ferrari in South Africa back to that guy.
Yeah. A Portuguese name, I suppose.
Yeah, he was Portuguese.
Yeah.
His ship ran ashore in Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
And what
Okay.
happened was he then changed his name more into Afrikaans. It was more like a Portuguese name.
Ferreira.
Ignatius was his first name.
Ignatius,
So
okay.
they changed that slightly, and then they moved across. They were a bit of a rebel, and he was a rebel.
Wow, okay, yes.
So that's why they didn't like authority. And they actually, if you look at Velbedacht is the original warmer.
Yes.
That was owned by an Afrikaans trekboot by the name of Muller.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I see.
And
It's on my title deed right here.
Yes.
My title, where we are right now, says the first guy was Muller.
Yes, yes. And then what happened when he died, they didn't know what to do, how to split this thing.
Yes.
So what they did is they gave it to the kids, and the kids sold it.
Yes, they sold it already, the bucks.
They sold it. They wanted the bucks.
Give me the geld.
That was it.
Yeah.
And they had it. And that's what really forced the town eventually to be established.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but it wasn't part of PE. It was a separate town in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was, and of course the Warmer Road was I presume was coming through Target Cliff. I mean, that was the new Warmer Road apparently. I think
Well,
that-
what happened was initially they didn't even have a road here. You actually crossed the Barkens River, not at the mouth itself, but slightly upstream, about 100 meters upstream. You crossed it there because it was actually a ford. Okay, so you crossed the ford there. You then went up the hill as if it was the old Warmer Road.
Yeah.
That's how you got to Warmer. You
Okay, so
didn't-
Warmer Road,
there-
okay.
You didn't cross. You didn't come across the Barkens River at that stage.
Okay.
Because remember, you had to actually you couldn't just lay a road, you had to create it from this rock and
Yes.
out of this rock and move it.
Yeah. What I love about your blogs as well is that you really do get a feeling of how it was feeling wise, like if you had to actually be there, like you can think about history, and I took the example the other day of the Sacramento, which I know your parents owned the tea shop there.
Yes. It wasn't called obviously the Sacramento
Yes.
in those days.
Yes,
But,
because
this is a successor to that.
Yes, so
And now let me tell you, that has got a lot of history itself, apart from just the McClellands owning it.
Yes, yes.
What happens is, you won't believe that shop or tea room has had 2 murders committed there over the years.
Yeah.
The first one was my uncle in about 1920, or was it slightly later? But it was in that time. He was killed because it was a burglary.
Yeah.
And he went to apprehend the person, and the person turned the gun on him and shot my uncle.
Wow.
Now, my father must have been 7, he was 10 years old at that stage.
Wow.
That was the first one.
Quite traumatic for your dad, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then what happened was, I can't remember the exact date, but it was in the 1950s, an Afrikaans couple bought the Sacramento. And what happened was, the guy was dating his daughter.
Yeah.
And his daughter didn't want him anymore, and the father didn't want him. So what happens, he told the daughter, listen, he can't come back on the property. And that night, the guy came back and killed the owner of the Sacramento.
Really?
Can you believe it?
She was a jilted lover.
A jilted lover. And this girl was only 17. And you know what? I
In
met...
those days, they were married already.
I met his... How I got the full story, I never knew about this thing at all.
Yeah.
And the one guy I was running with said to me, yes, it was his mother that was the one that witnessed her father being killed. In fact, he said, you know what, she was traumatized her whole life. She died about 2 years ago of cancer. And he said, you know what, till her dying day, she was traumatized because she actually witnessed her father being killed in the
terrible.
house. So it's got quite a tragic history.
Yes,
you know.
amazing.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, Bartholomew Dias comes around 1488. He doesn't do anything really. He just skims past.
Yes.
Now, if you think about it, you're on a ship. You're with a whole bunch of Portuguese maniacs who are telling you you're going to ride off the end of the earth any minute. We want to go back. Come on, Can you imagine those guys? Epa, we want to go back. What's the problem? I'm going to go off the end of the world any minute now. And he's saying, no, we're nearly there. We're nearly to the east.
That's what happened. Yes.
And so eventually they have to turn around, and then the next bit of history that you hear about is the Sacramento, which is 200 years later.
Yep.
So that's how history gets like squashed together. Where you think like maybe the Sacramento must have ridden past Bartholomew when he's going.
Yeah.
But no, it was 200 years. So Vasco da Gama had come around there, you know, and this boat was going back to bring some cannons for the King of Portugal or something.
Yes, well, they had lots of cannons on board there.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that even that one has got some McCleland history in it. I
Yeah.
remember my father and his brothers
Yeah.
and sisters lived in Schoenmakers Court.
Yes.
They bought the property there when it was first declared a village in 1919.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was, obviously, my father was brought up on the beach, and they were on the beach every day there. And of course, they wandered right along there all the way to Seaview and everything like that.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was in the I think it was early 1930s, they actually discovered the wreck of the Sacramento.
Okay.
But obviously, I mean, they were kids of 10 years
Yeah.
old. So what they did was they went back to their mother,
Yeah.
my gran, and they said, listen, they've discovered this. She contacted, they had a telephone through to Schoenmakers Court.
Okay.
She contacted the museum and said, listen, somebody's discovered there's cannons lying in the water. So what happened was, what the boys didn't tell her was it was low tide when they discovered the cannon. So of course these guys come out the next day and it's high tide.
Yeah, that's
so they
nuts,
can't
sure.
see anything.
That's
So
nuts,
they
you
blame these kids.
They crapped all over them.
Crapped all over them,
You're
yeah.
going to be coming out all doing grails hier so, daar's niks hier so.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. No, it's amazing, and I mean I've been looking. I looked through that Margaret Harradine book as well.
Yes.
which is quite great because it's really the timeline. You know,
It's a
as you go
timeline.
along, you know?
That's the problem with let me tell you what, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
The negative is because it's on a timeline basis, you can't see the totality of it. Let's say you take Sacramento.
Yeah.
The actual discovery and the removal of the cannons was over a 300-year period. So what you've got is a timeline there when it actually was wrecked.
Yes.
Then these people discovering, then another 50 years. So you never get the totality of it. So what happens in actual... I have no criticism of her, of what she's written.
Yes.
That is the basis of any future historian that writes PE history is going to. She did a sterling job.
Yeah.
Now, if you take what I've written,
Yeah.
I take a storyline. I say, what is the storyline? And you take it, whether it lasts for 50 years, you want to see. That caused the problem because I've done my books on a timeline basis. You know, the first one is so many years, and this one, but you actually find to overrun those things.
Yes.
Because you don't want to just stop the
No,
story in midair.
you explain the whole thing.
I have to explain the whole
Yes.
thing. So some people have said, but look, whichever way you do it, it has its positive and negative.
Yeah.
I personally believe the way I've done it gives you the story in its totality.
Yes.
So you understand that, but you must understand that it's going to be 40 years out of date, out of the period when it finishes.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, and you've got these two. I've got the two books here as well. I'm just going to grab them quickly so I can show you guys. This is the Port Elizabeth of Yore on volume 1 and volume 2. Here we got Defying the Odds and Uncharted Territory. The two books, and you can get them from Fogarty's. Yeah.
Yep.
From
Or you can get it from
Teresa.
Yeah.
Yeah, or from Dean, but that's giving the whole. I see from the different timelines.
Yeah.
And I mean, now let's talk about just the McCleland history, because I know Helen's online watching as well. She's gonna love it as well. But it's because there's so many McClellands now from this original Reverend that lived in Castle Hill. That is your great
His great grandfather.
Great grandfather.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you look, the interesting thing is that he was actually Irish. He wasn't. In fact, their party was Irish. Now, what happened was originally they were going to be put on the border somewhere on near Grahamstown or the Albany area frontier. And what happened is the ship gets to Cape Town, and they're all Irishmen aboard. And the governor says these Irishmen are going nowhere near. They're going to fight with the English. They're going to fight with the Scots. They're going to fight with. So he put them in Clan William, and of course. Clan William, if you've seen the pictures of the place, it's like semi-desert.
Yeah.
So there was a huge fight, and of course, being Irish, they they didn't take this lightly, and in fact there was huge fights with the governor, etc. So he relented and let them move to PE. So my great great grandfather didn't actually arrive. Yes, he started out in 1820, but he only arrived in PE in 1825.
Oh wow! Okay, 5 years of fighting.
5 years of fighting.
They were fighting all the time. They were in bloody Clan Williams.
And then what happened is his remit was he had to build a church.
Okay.
But of course, he said, I must first build a house.
Right,
So of course he built the house first. And of course the church elders said, no, McCleland, it wasn't what we wanted. We wanted a church.
All right.
So there was then a fight between
But you know what? We can have it in my house. We can just have it in the front garden. Okay, so you put it in St Mary's.
that was St Mary's, yes.
Which is an absolutely incredible church.
Yeah, but unfortunately what happened is it was the original St Mary's was burnt down in 1895. We don't know the person who did it, but they rebuilt the one that you see now.
There's a story about a lady that was
Yes,
a bit,
very much
cross.
so. There was a woman, an Australian woman, who came out who was a bit touched. Let's put it mildly, a bit touched.
Those of you living in Australia, you know, honestly, you guys.
She hated altars. For whatever reason, she hated altars. So the one night, this is now 1897, so it's 2 years after the original St Mary's was burned down.
Okay.
She tries, and the Holy Trinity Church in Pearson Street, she goes in and she sets the building alight.
Oh, my word.
She then goes through to St Augustine's, and one of the priests stopped her and asked her, what are you doing here? And he didn't understand what her answers were.
Yeah.
He just said, and pushed her out of the church.
Yeah.
She then went across to St Mary's. She managed to set the altar alight with a whole lot of the stuff there. Fortunately, they were just finalizing the reconstruction, so there were builders on site, and they actually caught her eventually. That was a woman. Then she was actually sentenced, and she was incarcerated on Robben Island. When she was on Robben Island, what did she do? She would try to burn the place down.
As well, there too.
Yeah, her
Pyrotechnician.
Her name was Johnson.
Okay.
Mrs. Livingston Johnson. I can't remember what the first name was. Something Livingston Johnson.
Oh my word.
So there we have it.
Yes, like,
Imagine now, they just finished rebuilding the church. She almost got it right. If she'd done it a week later, no builders on site, church would have been.
who knows?
I want to make one observation. The old church, because there were insufficient funds, it was a very basic church and never had. To me, I mean, I look at it and I say, nah, it does nothing for me. When they rebuilt it, they said, let's use the structure they had, but we're going to make it better.
Okay.
So in actual fact, what you're looking at, if you compare the old one, new one, the
It's
new
more
one,
grandiose.
it's more grandiose.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I see that the Church of Scientology has gone up next door to it. It's
Really?
a huge amount of money has been pumped into that thing. I don't know. Anyway, but that's still got to be open. I see that, but it's at least uplifting a bit of the CBD, which we always want. You know.
Yes.
That. But so from your family perspective, Reverend McCleland. Starts in Seven Castle Hill. I mean,
Yes.
and that's the furniture and the stuff there. Was that still McCleland stuff?
No, what happened is obviously he died in 1853, but he had two unmarried daughters. He had 10 kids, but 2 of them were unmarried, the kids. So what happened is they rented the place.
10 kids.
He had 10, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Now what happened was... Fertile. But the 2 unmarried spinster women, as they called them in those days, they lived there.
Got an internet. It doesn't last long. There we go. We're back. All right. So the internet went off just briefly. But yes.
They lived there for about 15 years, and both of them actually were teachers, and they were taught during that period. Now you must understand, firstly, with the time when they were being brought up, they weren't allowed to be taught because it was only males. And what happened was they managed to get an education which gave them an advantage over other women. And it was only when the collegiate school was established that girls had a school to go to. Okay, but that was much later.
Yes.
It was much later. Anyway, so they rented it out, and I can't remember that guy. Then they rented out to another guy, and it was actually run as like a prostitute den. It was really run down. Then somebody
It was a brothel.
It was a brothel.
Your old house.
Can you believe it?
Jesus.
And then somebody, in fact, that owner was a Mr. Daly, D-A-L-Y.
Okay.
And he realized the age of the house, and he said, no, this house needs to be preserved. And he approached everybody to try and preserve it. In fact, the PE Historical Society during the early 60s got involved, and they said, we will, in fact, they approached all the McCleland family in PE.
Oh, wow.
Can you make contributions to it? And it was them that, together with obviously the Historical Society, it was, and then they had to find furniture, and that comes back to your original question.
Yes.
Of course, I mean the original furniture was long gone. I mean Francis was dead in 1853, so you can imagine there was no chance.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, what they did was they got period furniture of that time.
Right. Okay.
So to fit in with what it was, it's not out of the period, but so yes, it
Brilliant.
is. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I'm sure it's, whatever was there still left over. Let's have a look at some of the comments here. We've got a whole bunch of comments coming in. Keith Clark is he's our punters guy. Thanks, Keith. We got a bit of punters here. Lovely. I'm having a bit with my thing. Dean's got a beer for you. And I see Sean Paul's just looking forward to the intriguing show, full of memories from PEL. And yes, the Facebook group is going live, is going on there as well.
Yes.
Grizel Hart, thank you for highlighting the history of our beautiful city. Do you know anything about the prehistoric artifacts found on the Donkin?
Nope.
Not yet.
No.
Grizel, it looks like
even know.
you'll have to send some information there. Grizel's a Cathcart resident as well. I think is it Cathcart there, Grizel? But of course she ran the museum for many years. Andrew Marriott, Peter Tiff, also Trek Boer and his Strandfontein. I know that's British plane, eh?
Yeah, that's area. Strange. In fact, Peter Tiff owned part of that.
Yes, he owned part of that land there, and I don't know, it was obviously while he was moving through. Ship tragedy to that is a similar one. It was the wrecking of the Doddington on Bird Island.
Yes, why that was so well known was because it was carrying so much gold when it went down.
The Doddington. So do you think there's still some gold there? The Burley poachers got it.
I'm sure people have got it already.
Yeah, I'm sure. I wonder, Andrew Merritt, that's an interesting thing. Got sorted, thanks. Found an air fryer for sale at some strand. The liquidation auction. Richard Tiffany Gear, is that the case? Mark Banks, full of crap. Yeah. There we go. Janine Beer says, Dean, would be great. My mom Helen and my uncle Neil McCleland could meet up with you at some stage as well. So hook up with some of your PE family.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Helen Ward, of course, is Helen McCleland. She's was doing years and years of, was still going strong at the hospital here at the St. George's, and she does. I don't know how many of you had antenatal with Helen Ward, but that's she's also a McCleland, and Alicia there. Yes, doing great, Dad.
Can you believe it?
Thanks, Alicia. And Brian Wilkinson, brilliant historian. Thank you. No, we won't stop. Don't worry, Brian. Brian was very involved with the Boardwalk Hotel there.
Okay.
When it was done. Is it Carol
Clocko?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Don't you know Eric Clocko?
No, I haven't met Eric.
From Squash.
No, not yet. But I'm sure that Alan Stapleton and that lot. From the squash people.
He actually WhatsApped me and said, just ask whether he remembers me.
Oh, maybe. I must have played. I played squash quite a lot, but maybe I didn't know his surname. Is it Eric?
Eric Clocko, yes.
Oh,
I've known Eric for 40 years.
Oh, wow. Andrew Marriott is saying Doddington gold has already been salvaged. I think it was in the 70s. Wow. Andrew, that's interesting. I wonder who did that. That's shipwrecks are another story. That's like a whole bunch of history. What are your favourite parts of the history, the ones that you enjoyed doing, that you enjoyed researching?
As I said to you earlier offline, is the things I didn't know, And the greatest part I didn't know, because I had a preconception about PE, that PE started in 1820, for instance. I didn't realize that in actual fact there were people farming in this area 70 years before that.
Yeah.
But, so, that was one thing. The next thing, which I didn't know at all, very few places in South Africa have had a naval battle. And most people don't realize before the 1820 settlers came, there was a naval battle off North End Beach.
North End Beach?
Beach, yeah.
Was that the French?
That was the French. Yes, very much. The French boat was called Pyrenees. Preneuse.
Okay.
Okay, and there were two British ships involved. But what happened is it came into the bay under false pretenses. It didn't have a French flag, it was carrying a Danish flag.
Ah.
Okay,
so the sneaky little French people.
French, yeah. And what happened, they thought that they could obviously, they didn't know the exact position of the boats, etc. And another thing that I find interesting is that obviously the Fort Frederick has never been used, had never been shot fired from it, but they had to, they wanted to, they already established a temporary fort at Pappenkows River, at the mouth of Pappenkows River, and of course, where is the
Pappenkows River now?
Smelly Creek.
Smelly Creek, is there Smelly Creek, the Pappenkows River? I
Yes,
didn't realize that.
yes.
Okay.
That used to be called Ferreira's River when Ferreira's, that was part of Ferreira's farm all the way up up the bypass.
So one of the Trek brews that came out here, Swellen Dam and that whole thing. Okay, so they settled here as well.
They settled here.
And there was the Khoisan were here already. They were,
yes.
The Khoisan were past. Went past. They travelled around, didn't they?
Yes, they did. The Khoisan were obviously before. Centuries before that.
Yeah. But they kind of they had no fence and we were talking the other day about the fences. It was Graham Jones. That's an artist here in Eastern Cape, and he was doing his art, and he was representing the fact that when the fences came, so the Khoisan flow and ebb was stopped, you know.
Yeah.
And that I suppose would have been the early Trek boys in those days as well, starting.
Well, obviously the Trek boys started putting up fences of their property and defining property, which wasn't defined beforehand.
Yes.
So the problem with the Khoi actually is there's no there's no writing about them. There's no artifacts. Very little. So it's very, yes, you read these things. I don't know. What year was it? I don't know.
You can't think of years. But well, we must have to try and find out something about that. But the fact that the farmers were here as well in basically the 1700s already.
They were in the 1770s. They were
Yeah.
So that's
and so I mean, even the Sacramento, when the Sacramento erected was 1755 was the Donington. The Sacramento was
before that. Yes.
And you say this Pyrenees thing was during the Napoleonic Wars.
It was. I don't know the exact date, but it was between, I'm guessing, 1804 and 1810 or 1815, that type of period. So the British were in control, and it was the British that fought the French ship.
Yeah, okay, because the garrison here was at Fort Frederick,
yes,
right?
That's
so
right.
they had a little, it wasn't the fort, I don't think, at that stage. I don't know. No, it might have been.
It was. The fort was actually built in 1799.
Okay, wow. Okay.
In fact, what had happened was they had sent through a British force to protect the Eastern Cape, and what they did was they actually settled them on the farm. Pappenkows farm, and that's why they built the fort. So it was that fort, which was just a temporary thing that they could house them while they were here. They were just at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
So the Fort Frederick has never experienced warfare.
Yes, and yet it's the closest that South Africa has. I mean, actually, for a naval battle. Yes. Because I remember reading about that, and there were two ships that were in the bay.
Yes, there were two British
ships, but they weren't strong. They weren't hectic ships.
No, they weren't.
Didn't have a lot of firepower. But the Pyrenees was a well-gunned ship.
Yes,
it was a proper man of war, and it came in, and I think they had a little skirmish. I don't know.
Yeah, there was skirmish, but there was a bit of. They pulled the wool over the French's eyes, so they couldn't get the guns across. So what they did was they fired them. They knew they were going to fall short.
Okay.
But the French wouldn't realize they're falling short.
Yes.
What the French would think is they're onto us. And
yes.
They've got more guns than what they realized. So eventually he just withdrew because they
And
didn't.
we went on to Mauritius, apparently.
Yes, and Mauritius, and they sunk it there.
I believe so. I believe
Yes.
so. The British actually said, because now they have more. It's Napoleon is like taking over the world. And isn't it crazy that it even
Yes.
reached as far as PE? It wasn't PE yet. Though.
Well, what the intention was, the farmers in the Graaff-Reinet area were against the British, and there was uprising there.
There's
So
a-
what happened was, that's why the French sent the ship. They wanted to
Create a bit of like, here's some
friction with-
support.
friction with the British, and
Yes.
then the British had to send more troops here. So there was this whole big.
My soul, because if it takes troops away from there, then
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
nothing to send to Waterloo.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing how these things just all tie in? And you try and remember, like you said, they actually fired cannons. Did they actually
Yes.
fire from
Yeah.
the fort?
No, they didn't.
No,
they fought
from the ships.
Yeah, they fired from
Okay.
the ships, but not
Okay.
from the fort.
That is just crazy to think of. I love those stories, and I just think the realness of that history. You know,
Yes.
the guys at the Tigon, the Sacramento guys, wrecked here. They were at so they were Portuguese, right?
Yep.
Portugal and the VOC, which were the Dutch guys, were
Yes.
probably fighting at that stage. I don't know, trying to sort of.
They must probably work.
Yeah. Well, I know they were aligned with the British. The Dutch and the British were aligned,
Aligned at that
and I
time,
think
yes.
that's why the Sacramento guys, who were Portuguese, couldn't walk to the Cape.
Yes, because it was the enemy. So that's
Yeah.
why they walked to what was called Delagoa Bay,
Yes,
which is Lorenzo
Maputo.
miles from Maputo.
It's like 1,000,000 miles they had to
Yeah,
walk.
and they had no supplies or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any other history that guys want to hear about as well, and they can make your comments if you want to hear a story. But if there's anything that Dean can remember, because I mean, writing so many blogs, surely you can't remember it all.
Look, I find there's lots of detail.
Yeah.
And obviously the detail is pertinent to I haven't tried to remember all the detail.
Yeah.
I can't. I'll be honest with you. I try to get the flow. What
Yes.
and what do people feel about it? You know,
Yeah.
those are things that interest me. You know.
We're talking about the bridges across the Barkens River as
Yes.
well. There were quite a few bridges before obviously way before the freeway was ever
Well,
there.
what happened is every time we had a flood in PE,
Yeah.
the bridges were washed away.
Garth Sampson, there we go. You're
And-
talking about the floods in 1908. And,
Yeah, and 1867.
Okay.
That was the first one, and that hit South End
Wow.
particularly bad. And what happened is, again, it washed away the bridges. So
Yes,
if you look
okay.
at photographs or sketches of the bridges, you can't tie these things up, because you know there was bridges up where Brickmakers Kloof was. You know there was bridges close to the Ford area where they crossed the river. But
Okay.
every time they built it, it was slightly different. And you look at them and you read that says this one was that date, but who knows?
Yeah.
So what my brother did, he actually spent months going through each one in fine detail to try and figure out from all the writings what was the description of the bridge.
Yeah.
They were constructed slightly differently, but
Okay.
and he's now worked out the sequence of which one was built, all the
Gee, was
through the
it?
years.
Yes, after each flood.
After
the
each
bloody
flood.
bridge is gone again, you know. Amita Singh, can you tell us about the King Edward Hotel? Do you know anything about the King Edward?
Not much at all.
We did a little walk there the other day, and the guide was telling us about the King Edward. It wasn't originally a hotel. I'm trying to think.
It wasn't. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
it wasn't actually a hotel originally, and I can't remember what it was. But it was a house, or like a mansion or something that was built there, and of course then it was renamed the King Edward Hotel, and then when the king became, during apartheid era, when it wasn't so colonial, didn't want anything to do with the British, then became the Edward Hotel,
yes.
and then it became the King Edward Hotel again,
Yes.
later on. And it was bought by the Saudi guy,
Yes.
I think recently, and I think just been resold again
It has been resold, yeah.
to a local guy again.
The problem is with that area, the Grand Hotel has the same problem.
Yes.
It's in the wrong area. I mean,
Yeah.
you take, for instance, when I fly down here for working at VW,
Yeah.
where do I stay?
Yeah.
I stay on the beachfront.
Yes.
Now you think about that. You're somebody that's passionate about preserving those hotels.
Yes.
What do? I never stay in them.
Yeah.
So that tells you already that it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there needs to be that regeneration, and I think, look, the MBDA is doing a lot as well. So no influence on PE from in the 1852 Dutch. Yeah, you know, the Sacramento was before 1652, wasn't it?
Yep.
The Sacramento was before 1652. So all these things get squashed together. You know,
Yes.
Bartholomew dies 1488. 200 years until 1600 and something when the Sacramento wrecked. There were guys here when it wrecked as well. I don't know. There were people around, but 1652 was when Van Riebeck arrived in the Cape. But there were Dutch people there already. You know what I mean? So this history gets we get the wrong idea about history, how it actually worked. We think these huge occurrences happen where Van Riebeck lands and all of a sudden everything happens. It's just there were people here before that, and it was doing it. Lovely to catch up on the Ferreiras, yes. To know about the Kucha and the Potensi lot.
Let me tell you, they are one and the same family, the ones in Kucha and Potensi.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Ferreiras.
Okay, the Ferreiras. Now, and I'm just trying to think.
Is that the citrus guys there?
Well, it's the bean sort of, yes. The Ferreiras now are
citrus.
Citrus, yes.
Yeah.
But the first guy that exported citrus from that area was Mr. Bean, whose farm is
Mr. B.
Bean.
Oh, Mr. Bean. Mr.
Bean, yes.
Mr. Bean.
Now, so that, I just can't remember his daughter's name. This Ferreira, Ignatius Ferreira.
Ignatius, okay.
Ignatius, he came and they had running fights with the family in Potensi.
Okay, the families.
The family, yeah. In fact, when eventually the British barred him from coming to, although they owned the property here at Pappenkows River, which they then call Ferreira's River. And, they actually banished them to Potensi or that area because they were such what happened was the Dutch withdrew in 1802 or whatever it was. Okay. And what happened was Ferreira moved in and he then proclaimed himself in charge of the garrison there. And they had still troops there and he took over. And of course he abused this and he shouldn't have taken over anyway. But might is right, I suppose. And then the British came in and they said no, and they banished him to Potensi. Potensi.
So nice place to be banished. Very pretty. Gee whiz.
So if you, whatever that person was, if your name, there is a book on the Ferreiras which I'm trying to find and I cannot find it. It's got that history that I'm looking for.
Okay, so if you find the history of the Ferreiras, let Dean know because he'll stick it in his book. And the Feather Market Centre came here brick for brick by ship. Imagine that. Really. So, really, they bring the bricks in. You know, a lot of the times they did. They had these bricks coming because I was at the Donkin the other day, and those Donkin bricks as well. They put their name on it. You know, the company's name, and you'll see there are some bricks at the bottom of the Donkin there that were brought in from overseas. So they did do that. Robert Cameron, brilliant stuff. Thanks, man. I read all the Casual Observer blogs. Fantastic. You're right, Robert. I was absolutely amazed, Dean. It's honestly, that breadth of work that you've done there is incredible. And hear about farming history in PE. You're quite right. St. George's Park having the second largest service reservoir in PE is located under the St. George's Park War Memorial. Is that right?
That's completely correct. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that? The largest water.
Well, I think they wanted to beautify it as well. Look, obviously PAG wanted a memorial, and of course there was this huge area with nothing on it and it looked very barren. So they said, okay, let's do it there. Why not? Okay, you see, so that's what happened.
So that whole circle around with all the Lani houses around it, of course, Park Drive.
Yes.
It was like a Park Lane, I suppose.
Yes, it was in those days.
Yeah, gee whiz. They love the Target Cliff pictures. I wonder if the guy...
You see, that person there, Elmarie Sampson, it was called Beansabos.
Oh, Beansabos. Oh, there we go.
That was the Bean family owned...
Oh, the Bean family, yes, Potensi side, yes.
Potensi side, yes.
Heather Bean. Somebody tag Heather Bean. She's here. She's part of the Bean family. Beans a boss. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
They were the only English-speaking family in the area,
Yes,
anywhere
okay.
close by.
Fantastic. I love it. And they're still there. They're still there. The
Still
beans
there.
are still there.
Yeah,
Potentially.
they don't farm there anymore, but they
Yeah.
and they don't own the whole farm anymore. They've basically
Yes.
sold it off.
Yes.
The kids inherited it. I've actually done a blog on them. I mean, I've got hold of the owner that now
Okay.
owns it. But yes,
Gee,
It's
the
all-
Bean family.
the Bean family,
The
yes.
families are still here. Robert
Yeah.
Cameron says, especially does the Target Cliff. I wonder if the guys crashed their horse and carts on the S-Bend. I wonder, back in the day, if it's still going on. You're right. Still just outside Potentie. Awesome place, she says there. Ek is 'n Ferreira, sy sê. Mos, sy maar Samson nou, maar sy is getroud. Getroude Samson. Oh my word. The Boras are still in town. And there we go. Alicia says, proud of you, Daddy. Oh, fantastic. No, your dad has done an amazing job from afar, which is even more incredible. I mean, I really... it's so, yeah.
yeah, but you've got to thank these other people who helped me.
Yeah.
And it's not only that, it's people voluntarily
Yes.
have assisted. You know? Look, obviously some people they'll never help, but I mean, I can't believe
Yeah.
a lot of people, photographs, information, whatever.
Yeah.
So
People must send you stuff all the time.
yeah, they do. And, you fit it in as it comes.
Yeah, yes,
You
of
know,
course.
you don't have the full story, so you say, okay, let's make the half story.
Yes.
No.
Brian says the Mackay Bridge at Sunday's River also came over piece by piece
Yeah.
from portmanship. Is it the Mackay Bridge or the Mackie Bridge?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah. I used to get Mackie pies or Mackay pies.
Yeah.
and so those bridges were brought over. I suppose they didn't have the ability to bring it. Maybe it was cheaper to bring it over at the time. You wonder what the reason is.
They must probably even cut it to size, maybe, because we just didn't have the machinery. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stone also comes from Uitenhage, doesn't it? In this, from the stone houses and things here in Walmer. I often think the Uitenhage quarries brought a lot of this stuff
Sorry,
in
I
here.
can't
Yeah.
remember.
Punch your book again. Where can we get it? There we go, Andrew. It is the Port Elizabeth of Yore.
Yeah.
So I'm holding volume 2 here, but they are at Fogarty's bookshop, and also you can just mail Dean as well and see if you can get from that
Yes.
side to. He'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
But Fogarty's have got it as well. Is it Teresa? Eh?
Teresa, yeah.
Teresa Fogarty, what a lovely lady. She's also Fogarty's bookshop, been here probably since the 1500s. But any of those, I mean, I also love the stories about the Kloofs, the Albany Road.
Yes, they've got a
and Mount
distinct
Road.
history, yes, this very distinct
Yeah,
history.
you know this offhand. I
Well,
mean,
if you take, for instance, the first one to have a road on it was White's Road. It was actually
White's
called,
Road. Okay.
bugger it.
Oh, so White's Road down in Central there, that was actually a kloof.
It was a kloof in those
Okay.
days.
Military Road as well, I would imagine.
Actually, no, Military Road was the only way you could get up to the
Oh, really?
the only
Okay.
way you could get up, and that's why the military built over there, because
Okay.
it wasn't a kloof. It was the other way around.
So they got in there.
But it was a guy, Henry Fancourt, of George, that
Yes, Fancourt and George.
George. Yes,
Yes,
it's the same guy.
Okay.
Now, what happened was he was an engineer, and there was a war on at the time, one of the normal border frontier wars. So what happened? He didn't have work, out of work at that time.
Okay.
So they said, no, you're there. You can actually fill in the kloof and build the road.
White's Road.
White's Road. Yeah, so it was.
Well, the Opera House must have built it I don't know how old the Opera House is. It's the oldest opera house in the country, apparently. But I mean, that's in White's Road
It's
there.
in White's Road, yeah. I don't. It was probably built in the 1880s. I don't know the exact
okay.
year, but White's Road was actually done in the 1850s. The problem was, a year or two later, they have a flood, and of course they wash all that stonework down
Everything's
into Main
gone.
Street and onto Market Square.
My word. I see Gary's got a bit of info coming up here. Here we go. The preservation of the architectural heritage. That's always been a sore point. And I know Griselle's watching, and she's a member of the
Well,
Historical
that's a blog of
Society.
mine. You see,
Yeah.
that's what I wrote recently.
Yeah.
Just because it was about architectural.
Yes.
You see, look, the point is, and it's a big bugbear of mine.
Yeah.
When they refurbished, that was what the Donkin houses
The Donkin
look like.
houses, yes,
Look
yes.
at that trellis mesh like this view. What they've done now is put in straight pipe Well, it's actually not. It's like not a pipe. It's a steel bar.
Okay, yeah.
It looks nothing like that.
Okay.
You know, that's why I say if you look at the new one, you put it side by side.
Yeah. I think there's one old one still left. The one guy hasn't
Yes,
sold.
yes, yes.
He's like that guy with the balloons in up. He's sparking. I'm not moving. He can back it off, and he's still. I mean, I don't know the owners of these guys. I mean,
now if you see those two buildings on the left were built down to put in that monstrosity there.
Yes.
What's that place called now? That new place they've got that building on the square, Market Square.
Is that Market Square there?
Yes, it's Market Square.
Okay. I don't know the one with the gargoyles and that on it. I don't know which one. What it's called.
It's a new one that the built where it's next to the bus station.
Okay.
You mentioned the name off air just now.
Is it the new the Scientology building? You mean?
Not the Scientology building. It's the one that's just a grey brick or red brick thing.
Oh, okay. No, I can't remember now. There's not Quantu Towers or one of those ones.
Quantu Towers.
Quantu Towers.
Yes.
Okay.
Now Quantu Towers. Now, if you look at the one on the left, that was the old. That was the Mosenthal's head office, built in 1905.
Mosenthal's was not feathers.
No, they were involved in lots of things.
Okay.
They actually were, one can say, what created the success of PE.
Yeah. Yes.
They were a whole lot of Jewish families which moved to South Africa, and all of them were entrepreneurial.
Okay.
And what the one Mosenthal realized, well, he landed first at Cape Town and said, no, it's not economic opportunity. He came here, and he suddenly realized you've got all these trek boos all over the show that are cultivating sheep, but they're what they will call the fat-tailed sheep, which don't give good wool, etc.
Okay.
So what he did is he went to them and said to him, I'll tell you what, this is a scheme that I'm going to introduce. I'll give you some ewes.
Yeah.
And what happens is, and you can keep their offspring, but I want their wool. And what he did was, he then brought the wool down here and then exported it. And he put, like the one family went to New York. Well, no, this is before
the sheep.
Sheep,
Okay.
yeah. Look,
Okay,
later they moved into mohair. Okay. But initially what he did, so the family, the one brother was appointed, let's say, in Crawfordnet area. He had to ensure that all the farmers there did this. So that the wool was sent down to the one brother sitting here in PE, and they exported from PE.
Wow.
And in fact, most of it went to Britain, to Liverpool.
Okay.
So
he probably had connections there as well. He's got
no,
this whole
all the big
industry.
family, yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then there's a little picture that Gary's got up. He quite likes that. That's the building of the freeways, isn't it?
Yes, that was Russell Road, I think.
That looks like the bottom of. Actually, that looks like possibly. You said Russell Road.
That's Russell Road.
Okay, Russell Road.
I don't think it's Mount Road.
No, I think that's Russell Road going the side of the Griffin Hotel there, going around there. And I mean, look, PE's over-engineered as far as freeways goes now.
Well, look, we went. The municipality didn't understand where the future of the city was, and I'll give you. There were two things that epitomised that.
Yeah.
They thought what is constraining PE is that you can't get parking in the central business district, and that is constraining the future. Okay. What they didn't look at is what was happening overseas. Yes. And overseas, what you found the decentralization of these big shopping centers, and the malls were being set up.
Okay.
So what the municipality did was they broke down these old buildings like the Mosenthal building and put a park and ride in. They broke down the old collegiate school in Bird Street for parking. But was it ever used? Not even used once. Because they misunderstood and they misread what the future was. So that was the one thing. The next thing, if you look at the freeway along the beachfront and up the bypass, western bypass, that makes sense because you need to have that. Yeah. But what you can see they over-engineered the last bit of the freeway as it came to the centre of town, because would there ever be masses of buildings in the southern part of PE? No. It was restricted. You had UPE, which is a huge area. So In fact, if you look at an aerial view, there was unlikely to be massive development. So the engineers went into overdevelopment of that end. But in fact, you find that things are not completed even because there wasn't a need. But the last thing was they proposed a massive big freeway up through the Barkens River,
valley,
up the valley, all the way to Fern Glen.
It was supposed to come around the corner of our place where we are right now.
Yes.
We would have looked up and we would have looked up at a freeway.
And what happened is they were going to build tunnels everywhere where you couldn't get around the corner, and so it went on. That they went into
Huge detail.
huge detail. And in fact, eventually the council realised that they'd gone overboard.
Yeah. This was in the 60s and 50s.
Yes, 60s. Yeah.
50s and 60s. I mean, look, there we go. The Folly Bridge across the Barkens River.
No, this was just one of my.
Yes.
It's a bridge that I tell you now. If you went to PE people, maybe 50 people will tell you where this is.
Yeah. So it's just too long ago. Or,
No. It was between. There was. You see, the bridges were at the mouth of the Barkens, and the next one was at Brickmaker's Kloof.
Yeah.
So the people needed to cross
Yeah.
to South End still.
Okay.
So they built this one. It was called Foley's Bridge. But if you read any book, the only reason we picked, the two reasons we picked this one up.
Yeah.
If you look at the old maps of PE, starting from 1860, 1870, this bridge is on it.
Oh, right.
But no one questions it. I've never read anywhere where somebody, but yet the official maps were showing this on there. And what the people were doing was coming down across Fort Frederick, going across this bridge up to South End.
South End. Okay.
Okay, so I came across it and said, this is, and what made me write the blog was I picked up the picture. When I looked at it, I said, that can only be Foley's Bridge, because you look at the position it is, and where the Carla Crescent is, and where the Fort Frederick is, that must be. So I said, let me write the blog.
Yes, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
And you think that was used all the time as well. Oh, there we go. That's what Garth Sampson is predicting.
Yeah.
Guys.
I think this one, in fact, I got hold of, this is the first time I spoke to Garth. This was only about this last year. I spoke to him and I said, listen, I know you've got all this information about the, I have written one before, but he had much more information than what I had.
That's Happy Valley Bridge.
Yes, that's Happy Valley Bridge.
Oh.
Can you believe it? So anyway, he gave me this information, and I say there at the bottom there, I say this is largely provided by Garth Sampson. He explained the weather conditions. He gave me that all the information.
What is that? What is that there?
That's Happy Valley.
Holy moly!
Yeah,
because that was all grass area.
Yes,
as well. I see there's was a massive damage, and I think Garth reckons we're heading into that as well. Is that Newington Road there?
It looks like Newington Road.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the spatial intervals of the floods, we definitely we do. Now, remember, obviously.
It's another huge.
Yeah, imagine Newington. I mean,
that's Newington Road. So that is down Albany Road.
Albany Road.
That's Albany Road.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
That is put to Erasmus Stadium on that area.
Okay.
Remember, it actually almost washed that place away.
Gee, it was a huge amount of damage.
Yeah.
That also looks like that could be past the airport there. I don't know. I can't see
this is Barkens Valley.
That's Barkens Valley.
That's one's well known. Yeah.
That's all Dante and Paolo Ciccolini's buildings down there. Those Italians must have been pissed off. Holy moly! But I mean, we are due for a flood again, and that's could be terrible. 1908, there was a storm and a flood. Is that right?
There was actually another one close to that. I think it was about 1906. Wasn't as severe, but partly it's you channeling all this water down this one river.
Yeah.
Imagine now where this was flat everywhere.
Yeah.
But that would have assisted my belief.
Yeah.
But another thing is, if you look at the number of millimeters, and this comes from Garth's information. I don't have this information. He gave me the rainfall by area, like in North End, that road. What was that? And I mean, you look at the areas in North End, actually had much more rainfall than the catchment areas of the Barkens. So imagine if that had been in the Barkens River.
Wow.
We would have had a serious problem, because it was 400 millimeters, if I remember offhand, in the northern north end areas, whereas the catchment area of the Balkans was getting half of that.
Wow. I mean,
So-
which is still a lot, but
Still a lot, but imagine
Yeah.
what the damage would have been. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
and that Shark River, I mean, that was the Happy Valley. It was just
You know, there's an interesting thing there in the Shark River. The first dam that PE had was on the Shark River.
yeah.
Okay, and obviously they brought the water in by gravity feed. So
Yes.
only if you had your place was or your shop was on Main
gravity.
Street level.
Okay.
The only people that got water was if you're on the hill, no water.
Yes, like yes.
But what happens is, if you look at the that dam after the 1968 floods, it still stands. Now I say to myself, yeah, they built this thing in crude basis
Yeah.
in 1860, whatever, 1850,
yeah.
and you look at what happened to Bucharest Stadium. It almost wiped the thing out. It wiped out everything.
But yet
the dam stayed.
Where is that dam? Does it still exist?
It still exists. Yes, I've got a photo in my book.
Whereabouts would you go to see that dam?
If you walk upstream from the Happy Valley, it's
Okay.
about, let's say, a K and a half, 2 Ks up.
Okay, so you got to walk through everywhere and up, keep going.
no. Before you get to the end of Southend.
So it's past where the princess is and the little frogs and the things.
Oh,
and
not
all those
past that,
pictures. You got to walk quite a bit, and because I think the bowling club is up that way and it goes
Yes.
past. They're looking at doing a big new development around the boardwalk, around the dolphinarium. That area
Yes,
now is going to be redone as well. They're looking at all sorts
Really?
of beautiful designs there. Yeah.
But it's what?
I think it's museums and the oceanarium and that stuff as well. But it's going to be obviously it's not so PC to have dolphins jumping for you anymore. You know, you can't do that. I don't know if there's any more. I see Garth Sampson's giving some comments here as well. Let's have a look at some comments quickly. Why is the Humewood Golf Club in Summer Strand? I don't know.
I don't know, mate.
Yeah. I've got no idea. Well, you better ask the Humewood Golf Club people that question. We need a spot monthly from Dean. That's what Garth says. Bean Sabos is at Dragon Fruit Farm Monument. There are also.
The farm is actually officially called Ferndale.
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 Okay.
Actually, its original Afrikaans name is actually like, obviously it was spelt in Dutch.
Yeah.
Swartbos or something, or Swart,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Did David Raymer has all history on the water in his book? Oh, okay. He's also got a book.
Yeah, well, and I was with David Raymore for about 2 hours today because I wanted to see what more he's doing. Because obviously he knew everything about the water side. So
What does he do?
He's a water engineer. He's semi-retired. Yeah, he's working mornings only at the moment. I'm not sure what he's actually working on, but
Okay.
he's still keeping himself busy.
Yeah.
But anything on water, he's the go-to guy. So if you look at I've written about 3 blogs or 4 blogs on the water situation.
Yeah.
They're all derived from David's work. It's not my original research because he's got the inside information. So what I wanted from him really, I wanted him to continue because his book finishes in the 1950s or 60s or 70s, I can't remember. I said, and that's why I wanted to twist his arm today.
Okay.
And I said, can't you now bring this up to like 2010 or 2015?
Wow, okay, all right.
And he then said, Nadine, I've already been busy with it. Because he was so adamant that he would never do it. He said, you must stop at that point.
But you never stop with these things. And I mean, for yourself as well, you're still going strong with this.
Well,
So-
you know what? There's lots of things you don't know the exact detail of, or you need to research more. So, and people, it's actually driven by other people because people say, but what? And you say, but I don't know. Why don't I know that? And all that provide information. So all of a sudden they open a whole new thing. Let's say you take Beansabos.
Yeah.
I never even knew that. I never knew that the first farm in South Africa that exported oranges was or Ferndale. That was the first farm.
Gee, was
but
that-
now, how did I find it? Somebody replied, this woman replies to my blog on something else.
Yeah.
And then I get hold and said, "No, come on. you need to give me this information.
Yeah, it's going to come. Okay, well, I think before we wrap up, we've got to find out a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something called getting to know you section. Just a couple more questions.
No. Can't I just do it and tell you what my background is?
We will do that as well. But it's a quick one.
These are,
To know you, getting to know all about you.
Okay, so born and bred in PE.
yep,
Okay.
very much so.
And
Yes.
lived in Sacramento.
No, I didn't live in
did
Sacramento. No, my father and my gran, obviously my gran and her children
Yes.
were brought up there.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
But you grew up where?
In Newton Park.
Newton Park.
Yes.
You go to Alex.
I went to Alex, yes, and that's the reason why I'm actually here, because it was 50 years ago that I finished matric.
Oh, magic. Okay, so you had for 50th reunion. Fantastic.
So 50th, well, the 50th reunion should have been last year, but because of COVID,
Oh, okay.
and,
Yes, of
and what
course.
I've done for it, being what I am, I did the life stories of all the members of the matrics and the teachers.
Okay.
So I've produced a 150-page PDF document with their obviously those are the cooperative guys
Yes.
won't provide,
Yes.
you know, to
Yeah,
me.
for sure.
You know, so that's what
magic.
I've done. So
Lovely.
hopefully I recognise them after 50 years.
It's quite difficult, I think. And were you at Herbert Hurd in for junior school?
Yeah, I was at Herbert Hurd, yes.
See, same as
Oh,
Gary. Gary was also a Herbert Hurd boy.
Probably 50 years apart.
Yeah, I don't know as much as that. And obviously, and did you study afterwards as well?
Yes, I went to UP. I started
Okay.
work. I signed my articles when I finished army,
Okay.
and I studied part-time initially. I did a CA.
Okay, so CA.
CA, yes, and I worked
good.
for Price Waterhouse in Main Street as it then was. They were in Perseverance Building.
And checking if everybody cheats on competitions, Price, Waterhouse, and Cooper. No, fantastic. So you had so you worked in Main Street.
Well, I worked for Price Waterhouse, and they were in Perseverance Building.
Oh, okay.
And after as soon as I finished my articles, I moved to Joburg because the salaries were so much better, the promotion aspects were so much better.
Okay.
You know, so it was a difficult thing.
Yeah.
But the guys that I knew were ahead of me, they were leaving, going to Joburg. And then the one guy who was ahead of me actually came down to PE on Christmas holiday, and I saw him.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, my previous job, he's resigned from there.
Yeah.
You can apply. And I mean, it was like, I
wow.
doubled my salary. And I said,
Gee whiz.
there's no ways I'm not
Okay.
There was going to be a car, there was going to be...
Yes, so money talks.
money talks.
Damn you, Dean McCleland, you just left us all behind. I mean, no, it's lovely to be back now again as well. All right, so just a few probing questions. The coldest that you've ever been. Can you remember?
You know what?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, you have a one day, let's say in the army, where you're sleeping outside.
Yeah.
What happened is I walked the Amatola Trail. It's a 6-day trail. In those days, it was 6-day, 120 Ks.
Yes, sir.
We started on the one day, and we'd taken a black taxi to take us to the start, dropped us off, and it was just bucketing down.
Yes.
We walked that day, and what happened was this poncho of mine split and started breaking up. So, I mean, by 10 o'clock, I was out in the rain. And what happened is, in fact, we decided we're not even going to stop for lunch. We're going to walk straight through. We say, okay, so hopefully tomorrow's better. Of course, you wake up in the morning, what do? You put on the same wet clothes you used to. And of course, it's still raining. So you say, okay, let's...
Yeah, one more day.
One more day. It was like 4 days like that.
No, it's terrible.
No.
But you like the hiking and the running, eh?
Yes. Look, I've been running. I took over the hiking club in about 1988.
Oh, wow.
I've been running it now. But all of us have got old now, of course, and nobody... No. Before, I said, we're not wusses. I was in charge, and we're no wusses, no moaning, we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a bit rainy or it's a bit hilly, no.
Fair weather hikers. I love it.
We slack packers.
Yeah,
we don't carry a pack. The bucky or whatever must take our packs.
Magic. Okay. Let me see. Look, two more questions we'll do for you. How's that? What about music? Let me find out about your music tastes. What do you like?
Okay, because look, I finished school in 71, and that was a particular area where you find, let's say, like Deep Purple was
Yes,
best,
okay, so
and
the
Led
rock stuff,
Zeppelin, rock stuff. So my favorite is Slade. Yesterday, Slade.
I love Slade. Well, no, it looks like my folks used to. We had Foghat, Slade, and Zeppelin and Deep Purple. That was
Yes.
the vibe. That
Yes.
was a staple.
Yes.
Creedence.
Yeah. So basically, that's what's formed the basis of.
Okay.
Look, you obviously, as you grow older, you like others, like some classical, etc. But the basics, that's the one.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, it's Gary. I know Gary's typing furiously, which means he also was one question from his side too. But I'm going to say here something adventurous that you've done. Anything adventurous? Would you say the most adventurous thing would be? Can you think of it? You ever jumped on a plane or something?
No, I haven't done that type of stuff. You might term this adventurous, but what happened was, I worked for Barlow's, and I worked for a time in Durban, and then I was transferred back to Joburg. And my boss in Durban was transferred up as well, and and I say he was still my boss. Okay. So what happens? He comes in my office the one day, and he said to me, I used to play occasional game of squash. And in fact, I used to play against this Eric that says he knows.
Okay, yes.
And what happened was, he said,
what is it?
Croco.
Yes. No, I'm definitely know Eric. I from my squash day.
Yeah. Anyway, so he comes into my office and he said, I bet you won't do it or make it or something. And of course, I'm focused now because we were going to play a game of squash and it never materialized. You always had something on, you see. So I'm thinking, okay, game of squash, no, not a problem. He said, okay, Dean, a case of beers on that. I said, no, not a problem. So he says to me, yeah, you read this. And he puts in front of me and says, entry form for the Joburg Marathon.
Yeah.
So I say to him, but hang on, Aiden. Listen, I'm now 30 years old. The last exercise I did when I was in the army, at 18, 19, you expect me to run a marathon. No, Dean, it's fine. I said, but how long have you been training? No, I've been training for about 6 months. I said, come on now, Hayden. How can I do a marathon with no training? He said, no, there's plenty of time. We've got 3 weeks to go. So our training schedule is followed. Next Sunday, we're going to do 15Ks. The next Sunday, we'll do 32. The 21, the next one 32, the next one you run the marathon. Simple.
Okay.
Now, very scientific plan. He'd obviously thought in depth how body recovers and all of those things. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, on the training run, 32, I got to 21, I said, listen, that's me. Now imagine. He says, but Dean, you can't be a wussy. Well, I had to run this thing. I tell you what, I've cursed this guy. Wherever he is now. Aiden.
Stuck it in.
I did it. I was within 20 seconds of the cut-off. Was 4.5 hours. I did 4:29.
Jeez, I just made it.
I just made it.
Gary wants to know here, are there any particularly unusual or standout PE history stories which you can remember from your blog? Anything that stands out for you? Maybe something that you enjoyed more or something that you found particularly interesting?
Well, you see, I've already mentioned one of them, which is that story, this thing with a naval battle in Angola.
It's incredible.
If you actually read it, you can see that there was this. And the
backstory.
The backstory.
Yeah, the backstory is there. It's Napoleon, man.
Yes. And remember, the one ship, as you correctly said, was they called it originally a 42 class because they were going to have 42 cannons. It had like 10 cannons because it was now more a cargo ship than anything else. It wasn't
it's like send it to South Africa. It's fine.
It had been demoted, you see, and it was now this really cargo ship with
She was, I love that story. And also the Sacramento story for me has been amazing too. But the one particularly for myself as well has been the ones about Walmer and the Belbedacht farm and Buffelsfontein farm.
Yes. Ones, I need to actually, what I focused on those ones, this is a misunderstanding is we think that the oldest houses are, for instance, in PE itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, those farms,
Yeah.
some of those farms still exist.
Yeah.
Okay, of those original ones, in fact, I've done a couple of the blogs on that in the last 2-3 months because I just happened to find that information. And
Yes,
not
yes.
because I was looking for it now.
Yeah, you
It's-
just found-
you
like,
just
stumbled
found
across
it.
it.
Yeah, and that's how you do a lot of these blogs. It's
yeah.
what you find at a particular point in time.
Yes.
And for instance, one I found was where my grandmother was born. She was born on a farm in Dryfontein. I only found out recently that that farm was actually built in about 1807 originally. Now, that's where my grandmother was born. In fact, her family still lives there.
Yeah.
So, in fact, what I've done, if you could put on my list, I must go and take Alan from the Historical Society there and show him a place which is older than any house in the rest of PE.
Yeah.
And it's the original place. In fact, when you go there, you say, the photographs of my grand from 1880, you look at that, and you say, that could be what it is like today.
Yeah.
We kind of think these old things are somewhere else.
No, we're living in it. We're living in it. So that's the most amazing thing. I see Davina Coombs is on, and she's part of the Lovemore family there as well. Looks like Charlie Clack owned Bosfontein Farm and many other farms here as well. Hello, Gavin Biggs. Gavin Biggs is, of course, all Biggs family also. Many farmers there. And Barbara Manish, she's involved in some of the history groups, especially the football. Yeah, Barbara knows everybody in PE. So if you need to get contact, Barbara's your lady. I see that Gary is asking. I think Dean said he left here in 1980.
1980. Yes.
And you when are you planning on moving back then for good? Or your kids are all up there?
My kids are up there.
You know, once your kids move, I suppose.
Yeah.
But when are you going to convince them to all come down? That's the thing. And anything left to do on your bucket list?
I'll tell you one I would love to do.
Yeah.
In my running career, I've done most of the races.
Yes.
Okay, that are around.
Comrades and Two Oceans.
Yeah.
Okay.
But something like, let's say, running a 21k race on Antarctica.
Holy crap!
Yeah, why not? That's different.
Those sunny days there.
But if any of you guys would sponsor me, I'll gladly do it.
Okay, you got to give it a go. It might
I'll
be
give
his
it a
last
go.
one. Bella Dakin, there's another PE family for us. We live in Dormy House, the original Velbedach farm. Is that the one, Bella, right there at the golf course? 10th
I
Avenue
don't know
golf
where
course?
this one is. I don't know where
I'll tell you exactly where it is. 11th Avenue, I think. 11th Avenue, right at the end of 11th Avenue. Beautiful old farmhouse place, and she's redone the inside, but the outside she's
Sorry,
kept
11th Avenue
and River Road, 11th Avenue, right at the golf course. So if you teeing off from the 18th at Little Warmer Golf Course, you're looking into their garden. So if you've ever been there, we'll have to have a look. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and Bella is staying there. What a lucky lady you are, indeed. Perkins Farm, says Garth Sampson. Perkins Farm, I'm not sure which one.
I don't know where that is. I've never heard of it.
Okay, no, I'm not sure. There's another central tour on Thursday. David Edwards, he was on the tour with me. If he's still in PE, they've got a tour of Central that they do a walk. It was actually lovely to do that walk. To check out. Thanks, David. It was really good to be with people that were keen about fixing the city as well.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Garth, and thank you, Dean. It's been absolutely fantastic. And of course, you guys can get his book if you want to check out the history. Unbelievable stories about Port Elizabeth. We've got our competition on as well. But we can say, God, I know we're going to give you a deep vein thrombosis if you sit here anymore. So we'll say goodbye, and I'll do the competition. We've got a competition now to give away the Fitch and Leeds. To see who's going to win the case of Fitch and Leeds today, see who's on board and who's going to have a nice little gin and tonic. Let's see who's going to be. Who's it going to be? It's Garth Sampson. Garth, we got you some Fitch and Leeds coming your way, buddy. Wendy will get your details and your address, and we can send it straight to you. Fantastic. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dean McCleland, for coming all the way from Joburg to come and be our Port Elizabeth of Yore, our casual observer. It's been fantastic having you all aboard. And next Tuesday, we'll see you. I don't know if we've got our guest list for next Tuesday, but I know Sandy's going to be doing a great show coming up. So we'll look out for the coffee break, and we'll see you next week. Thank you to Spa, thank you to Fitch and Leeds, thank you to Fat Cats, and thank you to our punters. Thanks, Casey, for the punters, and Amerbia for the internet.
Relax, sit down. Coming out of PE town. Have a drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver, get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino Shot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and